Hi, and welcome to the Full Moon Film Buff, episode 42. We're going to talk about Curse of the Devil from 1973. I rented this from Scarecrow Video. I had not seen this before. First, let's discuss the prominent crew and cast. The film was directed by Carlos Ared, written by Paul Naschy, billed as Jacinto Molina, with the effects makeup by Fernando Florido. Now, if I'm reading Fernando Florido's filmography right, this is his first film with Paul Naschy in the El Hombre Lobo series. It will not be his last. I think he does 2 more films in the series, but we'll keep an eye on that as films pass. The cast includes Paul Naschy playing Valdemar Daninsky, Irenaeus Daninsky and the werewolf, Fabiola Falcone as Kinga Willowa, Maritza Olivares as Maria Willowa, Eduardo Calvo as Laszlo Willowa, and Pilar Vela as Irina Willowa. Mariano Vidal Molina plays Inspector Raulka, billed as Vidal Molina. Jorge Matamoros plays Bama Bathory. Maria Silva plays Elizabeth Bathory. Elsa Zabala plays the Gypsy Witch, and Ines Morales plays Ilona. I feel a little bad that I don't speak or read Spanish. I have real trouble tracking down information on the cast. If anyone has anything interesting to add, I'd love to hear it. I absolutely recommend this movie. This movie was a blast. I wholeheartedly endorse it. It's my second favorite Paul Naschy film up to this point. It stands out as the highest quality filmmaking in the El Hombre Lobo series so far, featuring compelling characters and plenty of action. While it may show its age, the film exudes a lot of energy, maintains a brisk pace, and offers a genuinely enjoyable experience. So let's review the synopsis. Prologue. In medieval Transylvania, Irenaeus Daninsky triumphs over Lord Bama Bathory, the leader of a coven of witches and satanic worshippers, in some fairly brutal medieval mounted combat that ends with Lord Bathory decapitated. Lord Bathory's widow, Elizabeth, seeks revenge by conducting a black mass. However, Daninsky and his troops interrupt the ceremony, leading to the execution of the witches and Elizabeth's death by burning, and to one of the greatest lines in cinema history, "Bitches, I will see you all in chains." Cursing Daninsky in her final moments, Elizabeth foretells a curse. One of Daninsky's descendants will inadvertently kill a Bathory, unleashing hell on succeeding generations of Daninskys. Many generations later, Valdemar, the latest Daninsky, shoots a wolf on his estate, who turns out to be a gypsy upon their death. The man's family initiates the curse. A gypsy witch summons Satan for a nocturnal orgy with coven girls, before tasking Ilona, a young gypsy, to seduce Valdemar. The coven dresses her, they were all naked up to that point, and leave her in the middle of the road for Valdemar to find. Valdemar nurses Ilona to health. His household suspects her, but he remains oblivious to her true intentions. Valdemar's maid plots to kill Ilona. On the eve of Walpurgis, Ilona takes Valdemar's virginity. Once he's asleep and the full moon has risen, she performs a dark ritual, baptizing a wolf skull with her blood and embedding its fangs into Valdemar's chest. Soon after, Ilona is axed to death at the hands of the escaped murderer Janos Vilea as she tries to escape the castle. As Valdemar recovers from the wound, he has a disconcerting dream where Ilona's ghost leads him to her body and then into a trap where 8 fellow gypsies threaten him with knives before turning into wolves themselves. Days later, still reeling from Ilona's betrayal, Valdemar encounters the Willowa family. Laszlo Willowa, an engineer from Budapest, has moved into the area with his blind wife Irina and their 2 pretty blonde daughters, Kinga and Maria. Valdemar saves Kinga from falling off a rocky ledge into a fairly gentle stream. Their bond deepens. Unbeknownst to Valdemar, Kinga falls in love with him. Maria is quite the flirt too. Mama Willowa senses that something is going on with Valdemar. A strange wolf man begins attacking and killing villagers on nights of the full moon. One fateful afternoon, Kinga leads Valdemar to an abandoned cottage where she seduces him. However, tragedy strikes as later he transforms into a werewolf, unintentionally killing a villager as she's feeding cattle. All of the killings so far are being blamed on Janos. Maria is jealous of Kinga, so she sends Valdemar a note, luring him to the same cottage. An axe-wielding Janos attacks her. Valdemar arrives just in the nick of time and drives the murderer away after stabbing Janos. Maria tries to get Valdemar to take her virginity. While he initially resists, her naked young body is too much of a temptation. The full moon rises while the two are intimate, though, and Valdemar transforms into a werewolf while in bed with her and kills her. Melitza, Valdemar's maid, sees him in his werewolf form. She very helpfully disposes of Maria's body, adding to the mounting list of Janos's victims. Laszlo is furious at the death of his daughter. Kinga wears the most transparent mourning dress I have ever seen and expresses her worries about her parents to Valdemar. Irina is convinced Janos is a werewolf. She is most concerned that no woman loves Janos enough to stab him in the heart with a silver dagger to end his reign of terror. She makes sure to tell Kinga how to kill a werewolf. I suspect Irina knows who the werewolf really is. Valdemar smashes up furniture at his house as he transforms into a wolf again. He falls upon a troupe of traveling actors and kills them all. They shoot him, but bullets can't stop him. He bends the shotgun in half with his furry claws. The villagers are making coffins in mass these days. They take to marking the corpses to prevent them from coming back as werewolves. Inspector Rauka does not look kindly on this. Melitza eventually reveals the truth to Valdemar, explaining his family curse. He objects to it, but he also kind of knows it's true. Kinga reveals that she's carrying his child to Valdemar. The full moon rises, and Valdemar tells Kinga to run. Her father takes his gun out to shoot the man who killed his daughter. Instead, Valdemar jumps out of a tree and kills him. Kinga finds her father's body. She also sees the werewolf and becomes convinced her mother just might be onto something. However, the werewolf tracks convince Rauka that they're looking for a large animal. Valdemar bursts into a villager's home. The villager's axe bounces off him. Valdemar kills them both. Valdemar wakes in his home, and now he's sure. Valdemar tells him the whole sordid family prophecy from the prologue. Melitza also confirms Irina's fears to Kinga. Two village kids find the very dead and decomposing body of Janos in a barn. He died the night Valdemar drove him away. The villagers add everything up, and they realize that Valdemar is the werewolf. They knock Rauka out and kill Valdemar's manservant. Then they rustle up a mob and head off to Daninsky Castle. However, Valdemar isn't there. He's transformed and gone to kill Irina. The mob does kill a few of Valdemar's servants because, hey, you got to kill someone, right? Kinga finds her mother's dead body. Rauka empties his pistol into Valdemar to no effect. The werewolf crushes the inspector's face with a rock. In a bid to end his curse, Kinga stabs Valdemar through the heart with a silver dagger, bringing an end to his reign of terror. Epilogue. Several years after Valdemar's demise, Kinga and her son visit his graveside. The boy's hand reveals the emerging signs of the werewolf curse, casting a chilling and ominous shadow over their family's legacy. The transformation in this movie isn't anything we haven't seen before. It's just good quality execution. Solid makeup job. The blood effects are starting to take on that distinct, almost fluorescent red that's reminiscent of many films from the 70s. This film shakes up the El Hombre Lobo lore from previous Paul Naschy movies, and I am here for it. First off, this film makes the cursed nature of the werewolf explicit. Elizabeth Bathory and her coven of satanic witches directly curse the Daninsky lineage. The film pays homage to the older lore by having Ilona impart the curse using a wolf skull and perhaps infected blood, but it is the curse that does the evil deed. However, the curse is not limited to Valdemar. We see his son's furry hand, and it does seem that the gypsies pass the ability to shift into a wolf from one generation to the next, based on Valdemar shooting the wolf that's revealed to be a man. However, the film sticks to most of the rest of the El Hombre Lobo lore. The werewolf is unharmed by non-silvered weapons, and transformations are triggered by the full moon. I do love that Paul Naschy seems to have a thing for crushing heads in with rocks. This is the second movie in a row where he's done that. We'll keep an eye on that. I find that I'm reaching the point in the Paul Naschy movies where they're starting to run together. This is the sixth one that I've watched for the project so far. That's more than Lon Chaney Jr.'s 5 Wolfman films for Universal in the 1940s. I personally find it easier to keep the Chaney films separate in my head since they're all sequels to each other. Not perfect continuity, of course, but the events of one follow neatly after the previous stories. Larry Talbot has one origin as a werewolf, and even though he dies at the end of each one, they usually take a moment in the next film to explain how he was revived. Time, technology, all of those things advance smoothly from one film to the next. But here, The standalone nature of each movie, combined with remixing and reusing identical and similar elements, make it hard to keep things straight, at least for me. Your experience is probably different. Many of these movies show a different werewolf origin. They jump from time period to time period. I do wonder if this is part of why the Universal films are generally better known in the broader pop culture, despite being 30 years older. I think the foreign film and language barrier are probably a bigger part of that, but I am curious to hear if any of you have any ideas on that. Now, boy howdy, does this film ramp up the kill count. It helps that there is a serial killer on the loose in the background, at least at first. Janos isn't the focus, but Valdemar kills a lot more people in this movie than he's done in any previous El Hombre Lobo. I also find that this film has an interesting thematic focus on virginity. I don't remember from any previous El Hombre Lobo movies or any werewolf movies to this point. Valdemar was a virgin before Ilona disingenuously seduced him and cursed him. Later, Valdemar, on separate occasions, took the virginity of both Willowa sisters, Kinga and Maria. While he didn't intend to curse them as well, I think you can make a pretty compelling case that he did. Maria was murdered by his teeth and claws, literally naked in the bed where she was deflowered. Kinga lost her entire family, was forced to kill the man she loved, and is raising a young werewolf alone. I think we can consider her cursed. So, what conclusions can we draw? The most straightforward moral is that sex is dangerous. Sex is the way that Ilona gains access to and power over Valdemar. This feels pretty clear-cut. Lust for a woman he barely knows is the gate leading to his downfall. It's more interesting to consider the differences between the actions of the two Willowa sisters and how those differences manifest in the consequences they face. Kinga falls in love with a man who turns out to be way more dangerous than she expected, more dangerous than even he knew. But her motive was pure, love. Maria, on the other hand, acted out of jealousy and spite. She wanted to steal a good thing her sister had, or at the very least corrupt it. It's an understandable and extremely human motive, but still a selfish and impure one. Even though both women committed the same physical act, sex with Valdemar, their purposes were significantly different, and as a result, they suffered different consequences. Maria suffers a sudden, violent, and terrifying death. She doesn't get to experience the joys and happiness of being in love, partly because she wasn't in love, but mostly because she was torn into parts. Kinga does get to experience love with Valdemar, and I assume as a mother. She does lose her family, and any way you slice it up, sex is dangerous and not to be entered into lightly, at least according to this film. I just want to close by mentioning the odd color symbolism in medieval personal combat. Count Daninsky, the good guy, is dressed in black. Lord Bathory, the Satanist, is in shockingly bright pink. There's no deep insight here. I just thought it was funny enough to be worth a mention. So, if you like lycanthropes, like, share, and subscribe. Share your thoughts and additional observations in the comments down below. Let me know what I missed or what you noticed. Next, I plan on discussing Scream of the Wolf from 1974. So keep your eye on the moon, a silver bullet in the chamber, and we'll see you back here next episode.